From one great head coach to a head coach that's no longer a head coach. Kyler Murray's head coach, Kliff Kingsbury, fired today. It was shocking. In all honesty, Kliff Kingsbury, remember, he signed an extension through 2027 just 7 months ago. But now the Arizona Cardinals announced that they have relieved him of his duties. In addition, General Manager Steve Keim has decided to step away from his position in order to focus on his health. The team wishes both of them thanks. All right, let's get to it. Who do you blame for the Cardinals firing Kliff Kingsbury? Shady, talk to me, man.
A small percentage goes to the GM, right?
Steve Keim. Yep.
But the bigger one goes to little man, what we know him as Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, let's think about this for a second. Last year, Kingsbury, they praised him. He did a great job. He found a type of offense that fits Kyler Murray. Spread out, quick game, RPOs, all that stuff that fits his game. All holding the ball long, misdirections. That's what Kyler Murray does best. But let's look at this year now. For you to give him that contract, first of all, you really didn't want to give him the contract. He had to fight and claw to get that contract, right? Took all the pictures down on Instagram of the Cardinals. He kind of separated himself. And then you put in the contract, hey, you got to watch extra tape. So for a head coach to put that, and not only a head coach, but he's an offensive guy, to put that for your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, you don't want to pay nobody like that. We watched Kyler Murray. A lot of them games that they lost, it's because of him. Picks, sacks, holding the ball too long, not being efficient. And when your quarterback, not your quarterback, your franchise quarterback is there and he's not playing well, who they look at? They look at the head coach. And now your head coach is an offensive guy. He gets the blame for everything and they fired him. So my thing is this with the Cardinals. What coach will you get to replace him that will fit a Kyler Murray type offense, a Kyler Murray type player? It's going to be hard to find.
Hard to find. Dave Helman, who do you blame for Kliff being fired?
I think it's a top-down failure. Steve Keim, the GM, and Kliff Kingsbury. I blame both of them together. I mean, look, I'm not trying to sell anybody that Kyler Murray is the best quarterback in the league or even in the small handful. But we've seen him be excellent, right? I mean, he was the offensive rookie of the year. He's gotten the Cardinals to places they hadn't been recently. That's the crazy thing. I mean, Cardinals were 10-2, a little bit more than a calendar year ago. That's how quickly life can change in the NFL. Kyler Murray is an insanely talented quarterback. He's not without fault, but if you have him, I feel like you've got a strong building block. My thing with the Cardinals is, what else do they do? We talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, what do the Cardinals do? What's their identity other than Kyler? Go figure it out, Kyler. That's the Cardinals' identity. The organizational philosophy, vision, strategy, whatever you want to talk about, I've never seen it. And it goes all the way back to before Kliff even got there, when they drafted Josh Rosen in the top 10 and then turned around and they were like, yeah, that's our bad. We're going to draft Kyler now. Successful teams don't do that. And then, I mean, you look at the way they've built this team around Kyler Murray, like quick. All right, I love his game, so I will say Budda Baker. Budda Baker's a wonderful player, one of the better young safeties in the league.
He's one of the best, yeah.
Name another homegrown Arizona Cardinal who's good other than Kyler Murray. Who's he working with? He's working with Zach Ertz, J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, this team, James Conner, this team is built around other teams' cast-offs, like good players, but where's the philosophy here? What are you developing? What are you building? What's the core of this team? What's the identity of this team?
I'm with
because that 10-2, they was acting like Kliff might be
10-2 turned into 11-7.
Hold
by
up,
the
but
way.
they was talking about. See, this is the thing. See, this is how the NFL works. That I love about it. He's blaming them, right? Yep. This Kliff is his fault. But last year they were talking about, he might get Coach of the Year, and they was praising him. You see what I'm saying? How that works? So the same way we want to praise him. Come on now, let's keep it real a little bit. Come on.
I would argue Coach of the Year often just goes to a coach who has the most wins, and that's not always the right way to do it. That's why I would give it to Brian Daboll this year. That's a different conversation.
Joy, interject real quick. Let me get your thoughts. Who do you blame for the Cardinals firing Kliff Kingsbury?
I mean, I have a lot of the same sentiments that Dave has. I think you blame everyone. And when you're doing this much hiring and firing and turnover, I got to look at the top. I don't look at organizations in the NFL at the bottom. Who makes the decisions? Because they set the tone for the whole organization. So that starts with ownership, and then that goes down to the GM, and then it's the head coach, and then we get to the players. Obviously, players can play badly, but I can't say anything about the Cardinals that is identifiable. What do you do? What are you like? Do you run the ball well? Are you a fast offense? Do you have good defense? Do you win with defense? Are you really crafty? Like, I don't know what the Cardinals are. There's nothing identifiable about them, and it hasn't been that way for a long time. The only thing I know is Kyler Murray plays there. And if they can get him going and he plays at a high level, then they can win some games. Mind you, DeAndre wasn't even there for 6 games this year.
Right.
So that's also a part of it. I just don't think they're a well-run organization. I don't think they're very good with money. Some people are just good, they're not really good with money. Why would you give them extensions? We really don't know if Kliff is a good coach or not. Certainly not an extension like that. And then you're firing him 8 months later. You didn't have to pay Kyler Murray. What was he going to do? Was he going to sit out? He wasn't going to play? Well, I think he would probably played. They got paid early. So they might not be good with money, which is also a reflection of how you run your team. They don't have any identity. But when it comes to Kliff Kingsbury, I can't say I'm surprised they let him go. I don't know that I would have let him go, not just because of the money, but also Kyler was hurt and DeAndre was gone for the first 6 games. So it was a very clunky season. I don't know how you evaluate it as a whole. But I do think a couple things happened this year that did not favor coaches that can't win without backup quarterbacks, like Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys. You should be able to win some games with a backup quarterback in this league if you've put together a good enough roster and you're a good enough coach.
Yeah, where I'm at is I blame the top, Steve Keim, for Kliff Kingsbury being hired. I blame Kyler Murray for Kliff Kingsbury being fired. One, the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, they started off 7-2 last year. He got hurt. He began to be gone. They began to lose. This year, they were already bad. Then Kyler Murray gets hurt once again, and they begin to lose. We're talking about the Cardinals not having an identity, and to some degree, I agree with that. But why don't they have an identity? What did Kyler Murray say after the overtime win or the late game win against the Raiders?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's the one who said, hey, y'all got to be awake when y'all play with me.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know what I'm going to do. So what y'all are defining is Kyler Murray's ethos. He literally is like, at my core of a player, y'all just got to be awake. Right. I don't know what I'm going to do. So when you're saying the Cardinals don't have an identity, because the quarterback don't have an identity. What's the quarterback? What is Kyler Murray? He's scrappy, he's clawy, he's going to find a way to get outside the pocket and make things happen. I think that Kliff Kingsbury never should have been given the job. No, he never should have been hired. But once he was hired, now I'm looking at Kyler Murray, and because Kyler Murray is not allowing himself to be coachable, at least that's what it appeared based on some of the outbursts that I didn't agree with. That's why I'm like, nah, I got to blame Kyler. If somebody was going to get fired, it was going to be the less wealthy individual. So they had to fire Kliff because one of them had to go, and it ain't going to be Kyler.
But, like, I just think, okay, so now you fire him, right? You fire Kliff. What other offense can fit Kyler? I think the spread-out offense is his thing. He's always been in that. Right, was he 5'9", 5'10"?
9, 5'10"?
Like, and I'm not trying to even, like, go there, but I'm just being honest. 5'9", 5'10" quarterback in the NFL, what type of offense is he going to play in?
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear, but don't you, I mean, in the NFL, don't you think there's at least a dozen coaches that could build an offense around Kyler Murray? Like, you can't argue with the skill set. And I get it. The size is a limitation for sure. I would know. Not about playing quarterback, but you get my point.
So I do stuff like this. Like, I just look at different teams, right? I look at teams, I look at coordinators. So I think a safe team would be like the Jaguars. I think Doug Peterson, the way he runs his offense, even look at with Trevor Lawrence, it's safe. It's quick things. It's getting the ball out quick. But I feel like the way he plays like he talked about on his page, off script.
He plays like a college quarterback.
I want to say that. College guy.
Which is
That's
why
they got
to have a college coach.
But the problem is college football and the NFL are two different sports.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They have different rules. They're playing against different levels of talent. It's literally two different sports. So you can say, oh, we bring in a college quarterback for this, and Kyler plays college football. And I don't think that Kyler is exempt from this, from the blame in this situation at all. But if you're going to move on from someone, it's got to be the coach, because you're not going to move on from Kyler Murray. You've committed to Kyler Murray. And at the end of the day, Kyler Murray is the talent, and he's the only one in this situation, like Dave said, that we've ever seen actually be great. Like, we've seen him be great. Whether it's sustainable or not is a different conversation. And I would still lay that at the feet of the Cardinals front office and ownership, because you're responsible for putting this on the field. Like, you know what Kyler is. He's always been the same.
I'm hard-pressed, though, because we saw Kyler be great for all of 7 games.
Right.
I won't let those 7 games hold me hostage into thinking Kyler is great.
But
what does he do great?
What has Kliff ever done that's great?
The only thing I would say that Kliff did great is turn the organization around from 2 wins to 5 wins to 11 wins.
Did he
won more
turn
games.
the organization around, or did he have Kyler Murray playing quarterback for him?
So what does Kyler Murray do great? Because y'all keep saying, I just want to know, what's he do great?
He creates something out of nothing better than just about anybody.
But the reason it was nothing in the first place was because of Kyler, though.
Right.
You feel me? Like,
nothing's on time.
Yes, that part.
Yeah.
So now when my wide receiver runs a 10-yard out route, he's thinking the ball's going to be there. It's not. Turn up, turn around.
So now it's nothing. So now he makes it something.
Because if you watch this year, even when Colt McCoy got in the game, the offense was on time, right? They were moving the ball. So when y'all keep saying identity, which they don't have an identity, you guys are right about that. My thing is more like, what does Kyler do great other than this?
Which, to go back to that, like, Kliff is a college coach. Kyler Murray needs a pro coach. It's a moot point. When you said Doug Peterson, I had, like, a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, Doug Peterson could get something out of Kyler Murray. Obviously, he's happily coaching the Jags in the playoffs. That's not going to happen. But there are coaches with skins on the wall who have been in the NFL, who know how to work the modern game. Like, you don't think Doug Peterson could turn Kyler Murray into a good NFL quarterback?
Even when you watch Trevor Lawrence, a lot of plays that you happen is like safe, quick. But I was like, at Kyler Murray, he's different than Trevor Lawrence. Sure. He's different than most quarterbacks. And I don't see most coaches out there can just work with that. Because there's no timing, there's no discipline.
There's also Kyler, the Cardinals run a college-based offense.
College, it's spread out.
It's spread out, inside zone.
But that in itself is the problem. And whether Kyler is capable of adjusting to the NFL game will really be the question. But at the end of the day, they're not going to win at a high level running a college-based offense because this is the NFL. And there's plenty of evidence that college coaches aren't having success at the NFL level because they don't adjust to the NFL ball. Now, Kyler's also going to have to do that. I don't believe people. But here's the problem. I don't believe that people change. You are who you are who you are. It's a matter of finding a coach that can get the most out of what Kyler is. He's not going to wake up and all of a sudden be Joe Burrow.
But don't you think? Because I would suggest that Kliff Kingsbury actually did that. Like the fact that Kyler Murray was Offensive Rookie of the Year, the fact that Kyler Murray did go 7-1, the fact that Kyler Murray was the MVP favorite through 8 weeks of ball, I would suggest Kliff Kingsbury did that. Remember,
had a lot to do with that.
Kliff had Baker Mayfield at Tech. Then he had Davis Webb at Tech, the Giants starter of last game. Then he had Patrick Mahomes at Tech, and he had Kyler Murray not at Tech.
And
Kyler
he
Murray
also got fired from Tech.
He got fired.
He did, but he knows how to run those college-style spread out.
Then it sounds like Kliff Kingsbury is a college coach.
I mean,
thus far, Kyler Murray is a college quarterback.
He's got a great job waiting for him somewhere.
But the difference is Kyler Murray is getting paid to play in the NFL, so he's going to stay there. Everything that we're talking about is success that Kliff has had not at the NFL level, other than him winning more each year, which there's something to be said for that. And I don't necessarily think this is all Kliff's fault. I think there's plenty of evidence it's the Cardinals' fault. And a little bit on Kyler Murray.
And some Kyler, too, yes.
But now we're going to see how it goes moving forward.
Because we keep talking about the coaches, like, and we can't name nobody. Who's going to go in there and fit a Kyler Murray type of offense?
That's on the
Because he don't do nothing great other than he extends plays, right? Which most athletic quarterbacks can do.
And we'll see if he can coming off the knee injury. Because let's remember, Kyler Murray did just have major knee reconstruction. We'll see what he can do.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.